Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the payoff.
Jeff, look in my eyes. What do you see?
What do I see? I see CM Punk. That's what I see.
A cult of personality. I know your anger. I know your dreams.
Yes.
I've been everything you want to be. Oh, I'm the cult of personality.
There you go.
So I think you may know this. I think the backstory is Tony Khan paid for the song when Punk came into AEW.
Yes.
But then WWE went to Living Color and said, hey, can you make a slightly different mix of that song that we can use?
Yep. That's what I heard. Yep.
Because I thought about that. I was like, man, if Punk comes back, like, I wonder if they can even get the music. Because you'd think if Tony was smart, he would have said, hey, we are the only ones that can use this in professional wrestling for the next 5 years. He obviously didn't do that, or whatever it was not ironclad because they could create a slightly different version of it. It's actually sloppy on AEW's part. I mean, again, 2020 hindsight, but it's like they should have locked up, hey, Living Color, you can't do anything for WWE, or you can't do this song right?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you, do you know the backstory of why he uses that song?
I do not.
All right. Well, I'll share it during the episode with you.
Okay,
it's a good story. Okay.
Good. Any particular reason you chose this match? I mean,
yeah. So this was actually a swap for us. I forget, after CM Punk signed, I knew I wanted to get one slated in here, and so this was the first opportunity we could really do it. Normally, it's an early WrestleMania match for us. Normally, we don't cover WrestleMania matches this early, especially with the Royal Rumble this week. But we are gonna talk CM Punk. You kind of have to. I know I've said over the last few weeks I've kind of come around on Punk. Now that he's there and we've seen it a little bit, like I'm all for it. And so, it's just one of the, like I said, I don't even remember what we had in this spot. It was a New Japan match. And then I swapped it out for this after Punk came back. And so, it was just looking for a good match. I kind of, what was one of his top matches here and there that we hadn't covered. And so this was the one I decided to go with. Whether WrestleMania season or not, be damned. We're close enough. We're on the road a week from today. That's good enough for me.
Love it. Yeah. And this is a timely time to talk about Punk. So let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
WrestleMania 29. It's the final pre-network WrestleMania. So this would have been the last WrestleMania you ever had to pay for.
Interesting.
April 7th, 2013. We're outdoors at MetLife Stadium, which was brand spanking new. I don't know if you remember this or not, but because I always follow this stuff because I've been to a bunch of WrestleManias. This was a nightmare getting out of there because I think the show ended after the subway stopped, or there was
that's right. Subway. I remember. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you just hours, and I remember sitting there going, man, it would have been fun to be there. I was there the year before in Miami, but I was like, that's okay. Not a big deal to miss one. So 74,000, buy rate of over 1 million. The dark match is The Miz winning the Intercontinental Championship by beating Wade Barrett, which I'm surprised Barrett hasn't come back. I don't know medically if he cannot, or he just may enjoy doing commentary.
May just be done, yeah.
Yeah, not taking bumps and probably making $500,000 a year or whatever isn't so bad.
It's weird too. That's a title change in the dark match, but sure, okay.
Yeah, really, really weird match to start the show. The Shield, who, I don't know if you remember, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. You
remember? His names sound familiar. Yeah, they sound familiar. Yeah.
Defeated the Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. So all 6 men are still wrestling.
Yep. Crazy. Yep.
Obviously a weird 3-way team. Just odd. It was funny, like pre-singles run, the Shield just had some weird WrestleMania matches. Like there was a tag match with like Kane and New Age Outlaws, I think, that went like 2 minutes, and
Yep.
it's just hard to believe. So this would have been a long time ago, right? I mean, this is what, 10
Yeah.
years ago?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, it's funny if I would have told you that the three guys in the Shield would be on top of the business, it wouldn't have even remotely surprised you. You'd be like, yeah, it makes sense.
Right.
Maybe you would have said, Ambrose and Rollins. I'm not positive. I mean, Reigns is not shocking at all. But yeah, pretty cool.
But I know Big Show's over at AEW, but Orton and Sheamus too. Like, Orton's right back at the top, like just crazy.
Oh, yeah. Mark Henry is going to defeat Ryback in 8 minutes. Team Hell No is going to retain the tag team titles, I guess the other brand's tag team titles, by defeating Big E and Dolph Ziggler, who are accompanied by AJ Lee in 6 minutes. Just not a great WrestleMania.
This is getting weird. You're about to read.
And then we remember the next match, which was just really odd. Fandango defeating Chris Jericho, which was just odd. In 9 minutes, it was like Fandango, they really hadn't even doing much with. It was just like stupid, and Jericho hated it, and just bad.
It's 3 stars, though. That's weird.
So then this next match, Alberto Del Rio, who, I try to be objective, but I mean, the guy's a scumbag, right?
Yep.
He's going to retain the World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Jack Swagger. I mean, again, I mean, maybe it was okay, but it's just for a WrestleMania. You think, you wonder, hey, how's wrestling now compared to how it was 10 years ago? Well, if this was night one of WrestleMania so far, you'd go, this sucks. Now there's 2 cards back-to-back nights that are way better than this, right? It just wasn't good.
It's 8 matches in the dark match.
So much better now. Now, the last 3 matches, pretty badass, right? Undertaker, CM Punk, 22 minutes. We're going to cover this one. 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. Jeff will get into the build. It was awesome.
Yep.
Triple H is going to defeat Brock Lesnar in a no-holds-barred match. I think this was match 2 of their 3 matches. I can't remember, but they worked 3 matches total. I think Brock won the first and third one. So that was an awesome match. You had Shawn Michaels involved, Paul Heyman involved. And then the main event, John Cena getting his win back against The Rock. 23 minutes. They hang out afterwards. I think what I remember most about that is how Rock's ribs were just shattered. And I still don't know what was supposed to happen. But, of course, the rumor was next night on Raw, we were supposed to get the Brock face off and get them, but Rock didn't wrestle. Who the hell knows? But anyways, that's the show. Again, there really wasn't much to get excited about except for the last 3 matches. This, I think by today's standards, this would have been a weak night 1 of WrestleMania, if you can believe that. That's how good it is right now. So. Storyline standpoint, how do we get to this one?
Yeah, so this one, of course, WrestleMania, this one taking place on April 7th. We're going to go back just a little bit here, actually, because there was not a super long build on this one, but of course, Taker and the Streak still active at this point. You had the March 4th episode of Raw. It was actually the old school Raw episode. You had the Undertaker making his return. He had been gone for a little bit here. He opened up the show saying that any challenger, he would face them in order to end, or if they wanted to try and end his undefeated streak at WrestleMania. You had Punk, Randy Orton, Big Show, and Sheamus, which this is where you kind of get that tag team from. They all declared that they wanted to take on the Undertaker. And so it was actually a fan of big fan of the show, big fan. We are as well too. Vicky Guerrero, setting the fatal 4-way match between these guys. It was actually later that night. And so CM Punk ended up winning that match. He pinned Orton. which gave him this match against the Undertaker. So, like we said, why this weird kind of tag team? We got the weird tag team because they were the three losers in this match against CM Punk, and so that's how kind of weird and how you're getting that card put together. So it's actually the next night you had Undertaker. It was actually real life kind of as we like outside of story. Paul Bearer died, and so obviously had been with the Undertaker and Kane for as long as any of us can remember, and so just a huge one, one of the best managers ever in the business. But it was actually Punk interrupting Paul Bearer's tribute segment, saying that he would break just cutting the heel promo, of course. You then had Kane attacking Punk. You then had Kane beating Punk in a no DQ match. It was actually then Undertaker coming out a little bit, to honor Paul Bearer, like kind of doing, the eye roll. So in the end, they, I say redeemed Paul Bearer for that episode, but you still had Punk, losing that match. So kind of weird at that point. So really just a lot of back and forth here with interrupting. We will see that Punk actually has the Undertaker's urn. Right when we start this match, you'll see that he's kind of tossing it in the air. Of course, as we all know, the urn synonymous with Paul Bearer throughout his career. Undertaker getting his power from the urn, being in storylines and the lid falling off and the smoke, just all kinds of stuff, and why the urn is important to the Undertaker and his history. And so, playing it up as well too, trying to get the urn back. That was a big part of it. And so, Punk, it's just, that's the biggest part of it. So, and then you had him as well too. There's just a week or two before, or about a week before, he was Punk disguised as one of the druids, kind of assaulting Undertaker, hitting him with the urn as well. And then the biggest part of this, then spilling out opening the urn and spilling out the ashes onto the Undertaker. I really enjoy that. It's a little grim and morbid, but at the same time, with who the Undertaker is, the storyline piece of it, like you could tell that like these guys were enjoying it because then they went out and were about to see the match and what happened there. And so, just a tight build, really less than a month, but made a ton of sense with what they were doing. And we can ask the question, a little crazy here, like what would have happened if, how would it have played out if Paul Bearer hadn't died when he did? I know it's kind of crazy to ask, but with the story of taking a different angle, or what would they have done, and wrestling in his honor, really. And so, really good stuff all around as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, fantastic!
Yep.
I love this build. I mean, I was all in on it. So let's get into the match, man. I'm super pumped to cover this one. We are at the 1 hour and 56-minute mark. WrestleMania 29 on the network and Peacock. 1 hour 56-minute mark. Jeff, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, it's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
All right, CM Punk with urn in possession.
Also,
playing with it.
Yep. 21-0.
So throws it to Paul Heyman. I mean, so you've got, the Paul Bearer urn stuff. You've got Paul Heyman, who dressed up like Paul Bearer, which was just incredibly like uncomfortable. But again, Paul Bearer was he was a lifelong wrestling guy. He was watching it from somewhere, just loving it, right? So certainly found it to be a tribute, which is cool.
Undertaker moving fast. Yep, both of them moving fast.
Oh yeah. So Punk is one of the rare guys that I would say is a all-time classic top babyface and heel. I mean, you watch him here, heel Punk, and you're like, man, this is good. Like, I mean, look, obviously right now he's the baby face, he's returning, but at some point he's just going to be a ridiculous heel. One thing I did remember was his tights. He's got like the Undertaker purple on, obviously completely trolling him, which is just great. this was that era where Punk wanted to main event WrestleMania, and even though he was in this spot, I mean, he never was the final match. And so,
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see what happens because that really is the one thing that he has never done in this business is, closed a WrestleMania. And it means something to him. I mean, even when he left, a decade ago, it meant something to him, right? Like that was a big deal. Was I
We'll
never
see
got
it.
the spot? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's 100% legit. It's as real as Cody finishing the story. So pretty cool. Both guys look great. We're on the outside of the ring now.
Yep.
Yeah, just that I love the trivia of it being the final WrestleMania before the network finished up. And it's just so wild to think, watching this show, which the first 7 matches were completely like passable, like you'll never talk about them or think about them again. $50 or $60 or whatever this costs. So it's just, I mean, you're paying all that money for like 3 matches that
I
by
was
standards you wouldn't have thought were good.
I was actually curious when you were talking about being there. I was curious for the viewers at home how much this was actually a in like the network going. There's a price increase for the high definition version of WrestleMania 29. You were paying $69.95.
Holy hell. I honestly I would have guessed like 55 max. This
It
was
was
$70.
it
Wow.
was $59.95 for the standard definition, which at this point most people weren't buying that. And so yes, the 28 was $54.99 for the standard edition. So it was a price increase, yes, from the previous year. So there you go.
I mean, you get 4 guys together, order some pizza, bring some beer. It's still 30-40 bucks a head. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This show, like, no, hindsight 2020, like $70 for this show, like, oof, like that's rough. And so, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I mean this match was, really good. The next match was really good. The Cena Rock, I mean, that match was not good. You knew Cena was going to win. It just
yep.
I didn't think that was that great at all. So you said you came around on Punk. What do you mean by that?
Well, yeah, and so I know in the lead up before he signed, I know you and I had a lot of conversations on this show just about, does Punk need, and I think I said at the time WWE doesn't need Punk. Punk needs WWE if that were to happen, and this was before the signing. But now that we've seen him there, the reaction, I think thinking of the possibilities of the kind of matches he could have, I think my statement still rings true though, but it's just in a different light that I think is still WWE doesn't need Punk, but Punk does need WWE. And unlike AEW, like you got Undertaker walking the ropes here, yep, crowd on their feet. I, you know, I,
Oh,
Punk
rare
is,
reversal. I remember
yeah,
that at the time, like that almost never happened. I
yeah,
don't
big deal.
think that was the first time ever, but like I don't remember another one.
Right. So yeah, I think that like, now that I say WWE is going to use him right. And where it seems like AEW just kind of didn't know how to use him, but also at the same time didn't know how to kind of control him. We've all seen the articles recently too. Like Punk, like this is it. Like where does he go after this? Like if he wants to cement his legacy, like doing it on the Saturday AEW show Collision is not the way to do it. It is this. Here we go. Punk now going to try and looks, going up to do it. Yep. Oh, just crazy. Yep. Yeah, so I think me coming around is I'm excited to see him now. We've also seen some of the I know you and I the TV deals are going to be the big thing of 2024 and what's happening there, and it sounds like some of the higher ups are high on Punk, which just kind of crazy to think about these TV execs being like, yeah, CM Punk is gonna bring eyes to whatever we want, or they're gonna get more money because they re-signed CM Punk, which is just crazy to think about. But I guess it was Warner Brothers or AEW, they wanted a show built around Punk, and then he was gone, and so okay, now that he's in WWE, we're gonna give you Punk as well. Like it's just what it is. And so I'm here for the ride. Does he need to be the champ? No. Does he need to win the Rumble this week? No. But I think it's one of those where I'm enjoying it. There's just some things that like I'm enjoying seeing him on my screen.
It's a lightning in a bottle thing.
Yep.
Right now, I mean, you saw the merch numbers. What was it, 600,000?
Yeah, just crazy. Yep.
So, I mean, you have two guys right now in Punk and Cody that are, I mean, they're you got two Hulk Hogan's, you got two John Cena's, you got two Steve Austins.
Yep.
Now, are they those people? No, but they're not far off.
Right.
And not that I necessarily love two babyface champions, but okay, Cody and Punk, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Roll with it. And I think at some point you're going to turn Punk heel, and he's going to be incredibly over.
Well, I think he'll become a Heyman guy again. Like we haven't talked about it much this show, but yeah, Heyman's with him ringside. I think that there is a story to tell there. Whatever they want to do.
You go that route, and you think I came back for the fans? Come on, I came back here to make money, and I came.
Perfect line.
Yeah,
and I was talking to some of my friends that they said that promo was okay until he said that line. And then it was like Punk is back. They felt good after the money line. I was like, okay, like here we go. So, so I do have the trivia. You beautifully shared the lyrics with Cult of Personality with us at the start of the episode here. But Punk, this was actually back in 2020, tweeted why he used. It was actually Living Color. Said that it was Punk came out to Cult of Personality. So then Punk actually responded on Twitter, X, whatever you call it. He said, "This was my Little League team song in 1989. Used it in Ring of Honor in 05. In 11, I gave him no choice. Even rocked it in the UFC. It's been a crazy life. Thanks for helping with the soundtrack."
Love it.
So, yep, good stuff. So what are your thoughts on two? We've seen a lot lately. Is 2024 going to be the year of WWE re-signing everybody to long, big contracts? I feel like we've seen a lot of that news coming out recently of, big names, Bayley, Charlotte, some of these people, Ray, like signing big. Like, what are your thoughts? Is this going to be that year? Or we got contracts ending? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the timing is right for them to just say, look, we're going to lock up our entire roster for another 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
There's nobody here that draws money that's going to want to work for AEW. Okay. Yep. So, and again, if they wanted to keep Edge, they would have. All right. I just don't think they said there's nothing we really want to do with the guy. I mean, they made that determination. Okay. Because if they wanted to keep him, they would have. So I think WWE is going to say, look, every guy on our roster we can secure for another 3 to 5 years. Men's division, women's division, NXT, you name it. We're going to lock everyone up. We're going to lock them in for more money, but relatively speaking, pretty affordable given the new TV deals we're getting. And that's it. And then they can cherry pick anyone that they want, that's outside of WWE. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that's where we're headed. And so lock everyone up, sign a few more people, continue to make stars in NXT. And look at 10 years ago as we're watching this now, look at that roster versus this roster. And for them to say, we're going to everyone, we're going to lock up. It's a pretty great place to be.
Undertaker attacking Heyman at this point. Yeah, going for the choke slam actually on the outside. Punk breaking it up though.
So I met a guy. I was in a meeting, an all-day meeting, like a few weeks ago. I swear to you, this guy looked identical to Big Evil Undertaker.
Really?
It freaked me out. I couldn't stop looking at it.
Sometimes, like every once in a while, what was the tweet recently? You see Dominic met his doppelganger like down in Mexico or something.
No.
Like it was like a meet and greet, and the guy he looked like just like Dominic. Even Rhea Ripley was like playing it up and stuff like that. I thought it was funny as hell. But yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I do almost wonder, like you've got some WWE stars, like okay, maybe like they're not going to be at the top of the card, and they see that, so it's like okay, I'm going to go to AEW, like I'm going to do that, and kind of check it. I feel like it's like the football player that wins the Super Bowl, and like oh, I want a new challenge, so he goes to a different team, like. I think at the same time, there's some people that are like, why? I'm on a Super Bowl team. Why would I leave Patrick Mahomes? Why would I leave, some of these people? Like it doesn't make any sense. And so, but I think you're dead on like of like, jumping to AEW is not going to be the career savior that you think it's going to be. Like, why would Charlotte leave? Why would Bailey leave? Like, why would Ray ever leave? Like, it makes zero sense. And so, with the exposure and everything else, Punk going for the go to sleep, and then Undertaker hitting him with a choke slam, quick pin as well too. Nope, kick it out. Great match so far. It's been nonstop action.
Well, and remember, we're at the point where it's like, hey, maybe Punk does defeat the streak, So I mean, you had all that intrigue too.
It was close, yeah, we didn't know.
It's a little bit different, but watching it at the time, you just didn't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with AEW's new TV deal because if they don't get a good TV deal, how do you pay a competitive wage? All right.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE can pay whatever they want. Okay. So they can theoretically, I won't say outbid AEW, but I mean, they can offer as much as they need to within reason. So AEW, I just don't know if they can. I mean, how many, Chris Jericho type contracts can you throw out there?
Yeah.
Number one. And then if their TV deal, I mean, they're estimated to have lost $30 million this year. So if their new TV deal stays flat, okay, then what? Are you just going to lose 30 million again for each of the next 5 years? I mean, at what point does Tony Khan's dad say, hey, your experiment has lost our family $100 million?
Yeah, at a certain point,
yeah. Can keep paying. What I'm saying is, I don't know if they keep paying these guys. Can they afford to just pick your next free agent, right? Pick your next guy. Can they? I mean, I don't know if they've re-signed MJF or not. As of our recording, we don't know for sure. But how many of these guys can you just here's $1 million, here's $2 million, here's $5 million. How many of those out there? And if WWE wants a guy and says, look, whatever they offer you, we're going to offer you 20% more. How do you compete with that?
Well, and I'm looking as we're sitting here too, because I'm using the Charlotte contract as the example. Like all the news coming out was that it was the largest women's contract ever, and it was a huge bump. And the rumor was that Sasha, Mercedes, whatever, wanted more in order to come back. Which it's okay, I don't think you're that commodity, but who knows, prove me wrong type thing. But yeah, I think that I think your point too, it's dead on of why wouldn't you lock up these people? Why wouldn't you not have to worry about it for the next 3 to 5 years? And yeah, some people are going to get cut because of this, but also most profitable year ever. 2024 will also be their most profitable year ever. They're just going to keep making money hand over fist and not have they're not doing live shows like they used to because they weren't that's losing money for them. They don't need to do that stuff at the level that they used to, and wrestlers work like crazy. But also, at the same time, we're going to see more of these attraction and commodity wrestlers, because they're not hurt, because they're able to go out and do more. So you got Punk on the top rope now, with Undertaker laid out on the table or the announce table. Kind of missed it a little bit, but that's okay. Yep.
Table didn't break.
But anyways, yeah, I think that all these people, why not? If you're going to be the best in the business, kill them with business. Like you don't need to. Yeah, they did the stacked NXT show that one week and stuff like that, but at the same time, like just look at their business. They don't. Yeah, they don't need that in order. Like they could have had just a terrible show that week, and they still would have been just fine every week after. Like it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm cheering for him. It's funny, like, the internet wrestling community gets so worked up anytime you bash AEW, and it's like, I mean, if the show sucks, it sucks. I mean, right? If they're, not building competitive storylines, like, okay, well, I mean, if, paying $60 for a pay-per-view seems absurd. I mean, that's just criticism. I mean, like, it's
Yep.
not wishing they're out of business. It's not hating on them. It's just, hey, Tony, for as much time as you spent on Twitter, realize that people think it's bullshit to pay $60 a pay-per-view. People,
Yep.
don't like the way you're booking. People find it to be confusing. People don't want 5 hours a week from one brand. I mean, that's the
Yep.
other thing you forget. It's like, they're doing 5 hours a week. I mean, imagine if I told you that NXT was going to do 5 hours a week, what would you say?
Yeah, it's just nuts, right?
Or the Raw roster was going to do it. I mean, regardless, it's insane.
Yeah. No, and again, like I'm with like we do. Some days we shit on AEW fairly hard, but like hey, if that's your program, watch it. Like that's the other thing is like we are wrestling fans around here, but also like I want them to be successful, but us like being around like knowing WCW and what they did. Oh, there's kind of Punk a weird reversal there. That looks sloppy as can be. That yeah, we want it to be, but at the same time, like the storylines aren't great. Like they're not doing things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to watch this. I need to watch this. Like on the flip side, like I'm watching more Raw and SmackDown on any given week than I am ever recently, like since like high school and college and stuff like that, when I had the time to do it. Like I'll put it on and just kind of have, I'm not sitting all 3 hours, but also like it's on. And so because I'm genuinely interested, like who's coming out, what are the storylines that are happening, like I just don't feel that way about the flip side and what's going on. And so yeah, it's it's all good stuff. Like it is, we are living in the best timeline when it comes to wrestling though, because there is all kinds of stuff out there for what we can find and watch and see. So yeah.
So this is the tied for the fourth highest ranked match of Punk's WWE career. So, okay, so Punk hits go to sleep. Taker bounces off the rope, hits a tombstone. 1, 2, kicks out. Fantastic.
Kicks out.
Everyone on there.
Crowd check. You got your sound hooked up for it or no?
No, I think they blocked the sound.
It's just weird. Yep.
Like
so I saw a little
see.
blood there too, maybe. Yeah, Taker got a little bit tiny cut. Yep.
So the sound's actually playing on my computer right now.
I can't hear it through us though, but that's all right. Yep.
See, now I try to share it and you can't hear it, right?
Nope.
So they block it. They block, and then if you do the video, if you try to share the video, it blocks it out. So they block that from happening.
We've seen that. Yep. Fans though, everybody's on their feet though. Not a single person sitting down. Yep. It was a sloppy GTS, which is I think Undertaker kind of moved through it or kind of rolled through it, whatever you want to say. Yep.
So how many 5-star matches does Punk have in his career?
Oh, good question. 2.
2.
Yep. Okay.
Joe and ROH, and then
Yep.
Cena, the Money in the Bank Cena match. Which
I figured it had to be 2 or 3. I obviously I knew the Cena one, but yeah, I wasn't sure what else it could have been. Yeah, absolutely.
So he had him and MJF, their 4 3/4 star, an Austin Aries match in ROH. So then WWE matches, top one was the Cena match. Then he had a match with Daniel Bryan. Another rematch with Cena, and then this match, and then tied with this match was a Jericho match, a Lesnar match.
Rough bump.
So this was among the best match that he ever did.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Man, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Punk, though. I mean, you've got 5 years worth of matches if you needed it. You know what I mean? You just start going through all that and like, God, then you say, okay, well, if you got a heel Punk, would they run it back with another Cena match?
Yeah.
Sign me up for that.
I would. I'd watch. Yep.
Sign me up for SummerSlam, Cena, Punk, right?
See, going for the powerbomb, Punk now pinning Taker after hitting him with the urn on the back of the head, and then pinning him with the Undertaker style, like kind of crossing the arms and rolling his eyes back, with Taker kicking out.
People are going nuts.
Everyone, as soon as they pinned him, people thought that was it. People thought it was going to happen. That was the one. Yep.
Were you like clamoring for Sting Undertaker? Like, is that like one of your top dream matches?
There was a point, yeah. And eventually it got to the point where it was just, I don't want to watch two old men go do, like, I would have enjoyed in their prime Undertaker and Sting, but eventually, once you get into that after, 2010, I don't need that. I just don't need it. Like, the nostalgia of it doesn't affect me, anymore.
I'm not a major like Sting mark. I'm not a major Sting mark. So that's part of the reason why I don't think I was ever like, oh, I need to see that. I actually was a bigger fan of Surfer Sting than
yeah.
Okay, so it looks like this is it.
Got a couple reversals there, but then hitting the tombstone.
That's got to be it. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Got him.
Taker wins.
Yep.
Place
everybody
wins.
going nuts. Yep.
Yeah, great one. I wasn't, for me it was the Sting thing never. I think the build could have been incredibly hokey. If you go like supernatural, like it's one thing when one guy's supernatural, it's another when they're both doing it. It could have been weird. Like you could have just been like, so like there's no guarantee that the build would have, the actual match, it wouldn't have been good. Taker's good when he's in there with Shawn Michaels. He's not, CM Punk. Like Taker's not good when he's in there with an old Goldberg, right? Or another old guy. So, Sting, I'm actually glad it never happened because I just don't think it would have been that good. Give me a match like this. So really, really good stuff. Taker claims back the urn. Punk just continues to earn everyone's respect as being a top guy. Keep in mind, this was just a few months after he gave up his title to The Rock after a really long reign. So just an interesting time. And, 10 months later, he'd be out of the company for a decade.
Crazy.
That's the story. Let's get to the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
Yeah, really good. Like it was, I didn't remember a whole lot of it. I kind of, obviously remembered the finish, but the match itself was fantastic. I don't think there wasn't really a rest hold at any point. I think Punk played the heel extremely well. Trying to do some of Taker's moves, kind of the mannerisms, like just really good. And this was, I hate to say it, but Taker was not past his prime for this match. Like he still looked good. He moved good. I'm sure he was hurting, but he really like went out there and he looked good doing it. Yeah.
All right. Well, what did all the quote unquote experts think?
Well, we'll do a little bit real quick here, just kind of what happened after this one. You had Punk actually like leaving. He actually came out, kind of cut the promo or handed Heyman the mic. He beat Jericho at Payback. He then dropped Heyman as his manager, of course, causing Heyman to turn on Punk, and then Punk then turning face at this point. And so you had an Undertaker on the flip side here. Again, they were going to do another tribute to Paul Bearer, but you had the Shield attacking him, Team Hell No making the save. So a little bit of stuff there, just kind of back and forth. You also had DX saving Undertaker, just kind of a few different things here. So Punk was 171 this year on the PWI. Undertaker was 18. You had the Observer newsletter on this one. The show overall was a thumbs up, and this match, hands down, 465 votes is the best match, which is next closest was Cena and The Rock with 29. And so just not much at all there. And so here we go. The Undertaker has clearly become the star of WrestleMania with the retirement of Shawn Michaels, and Punk worked great with him. I thought the match was really good, but the streak is now a lot bigger than any world title because it's been built up and talked about so much. That gives Taker's matches at Mania a sense of importance that nothing else in wrestling can match. Living Color played Punk's entrance. And so, yeah, we did not watch that. Punk went for the GTS, but Undertaker flopped out and this time hit the tombstone for the pin. Undertaker then took the urn and symbolically walked away with it. This was an excellent match and ended up the highlight of the show. I don't think it was quite as good as the Undertaker's last 4 Mania matches with Triple H and Michaels, but it still exceeded what anyone could hope for, 4.5 stars. So 21-0, 4.5 stars. Tom, what are you thinking?
My payoff score is an 8.5.
Okay.
And that might even be low, but I love the build to this. I love both guys. I thought the match was fantastic. I don't know what would make it even better. I mean, maybe the main event with the title on the line, because that's what our payoff score. It's all the pageantry. It's everything that goes into it. It's not just watching two guys do fake moves and giving it a star rating. So
right, yeah.
I have this at like an 8.5, and I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. Everything about it, loved it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, 8.5 as well. I think that like maybe a longer build, but at the same time, the build was really good. The aftermath wasn't, incredible either, but didn't need to be when you have a match that kind of, I say, one-offs it like this. And so, it just makes it worth it. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I'm right there with you. So really good match. This is one I'm glad we covered it because it was a very good match. I think it definitely, unless you're going to watch the Cena match with Punk, like this is one that kind of really showcases what Punk's capable of and telling that story. So yeah, really good.
Cool.
Let's send him home happy.
Well, I love this one. I love the early WrestleMania. We'll see what happens on Sunday at the Rumble. I'm super excited. I know you are too.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.